angels,
demons,
scary movies,
and an Inferno, all on today's podcast. Welcome to a grand conversation with Grandpa Diesel and grandson Raphael, tackling current topics from a grandpa's point of view and from a grandson's point of view. Welcome. Hello, I'm Grandpa Diesel.
and I'm grandson Raphael.
Welcome to our podcast. So, Raph, before we get into the subject matter today, I think we need a little clarification brought up by your little brother, Ambrose.
Yeah, we made a horrible mistake.
Horrible mistake.
In fact, I made a horrible mistake.
You?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, I'm not going to blame you because it's both of ours. So, we got to go back to the Cryptid podcast and Mothman. So what did Ambrose bring up, Raph?
Well, he brought up the point that Mothman actually may not be causing disasters and may be warning people, which is in fact my preferred interpretation of Mothman, but apparently I forgot to mention it in the episode, despite liking that version better.
Really? All right. But Ambrose caught it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Good job, Ambrose. Shout out to you, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going to begin our podcast. So we gave some of the topics, and we'll get right into it. And we're going to talk a little bit about angels and demons, scary movies, and an Inferno. So just as a disclosure, the information I got, it was, doing search on the internet, and also there's a book called Angels and Demons by Father Mike Driscoll, which had a lot of good information. So I wanted to start out with just talking about angels. And it's interesting, I was thinking, and we'll get into the movies later, but how there were so many movies, I think, with evil and demons involved, but not so much with angels. So I'd like to see some more movies with angels, right, Raph? Mm-hmm. So you know what Greek word that angels is derived from?
Nope.
You might. Oh, okay. It says it's agelos, A-G-G-E-L-O-S, which means messenger.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. So all angels, they're created beings. They're created by God, and at the beginning, when they were created, they were all good, and we'll bring up why that's important to remember. So being pure spirits, the decisions they make are permanent. That was kind of an interesting thing, I don't think, about angels. So their decisions, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But so an angel is a spiritual being who serves as a messenger, minister of God's will. They have intellect and free will. So angels do not see the future generally, and that's kind of an interesting concept. Mm-hmm. I hadn't thought about it either way, but if you would have asked me, I would have thought, yeah, they might be able, but God can reveal future events as He does with the prophets, and so they can actually know future events if it's God's will that they know them. But they can actually predict future events. So just knowing human nature, just being around humans, they can actually their intellect is so great that they can actually predict what human beings, how they might act. So
Yeah.
they don't exactly know the future, but they can predict it. It's interesting, a little tidbit I found that says they can move things by intellect and will. So it's like they can move a planet or a peanut, and they just manipulate physical matter.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was really interesting. And so they are created, but they are eternal, just like we are eternal. We're going to live forever. Our souls will live forever. But they're inside time and space. So God is outside time and space. He's the only one. But they are created beings inside time and space. So they have no emotions, from what I found, which is interesting. No physical brain. So I guess I don't get mad when we mess up, huh, Raph? Mm-hmm. No physical brain. And this is interesting. So they can see all possibilities at once and decide on the course of action. So,
Interesting.
yeah, I thought that concept, I could think about that for a while, but if you could see all possibilities at once and then they decide on which is the correct course of action or which one they should take. Now, this is so they can take on physical appearance through manipulation of physical elements such as air, sunlight, and dust. So that's interesting because when we think of angels, sometimes we think of angels coming and taking physical form. So they can manipulate the physical elements to take physical form. And they can communicate with humans also through visions, and they can give us ideas and inspiration. And so actually I came across, so this was developed in the 5th and 6th century. So I'm going to give you a little quiz here, Ralph.
Okay.
So it's starting in 5th and 6th century. I think it was maybe developed after that. But there are hierarchies of angels. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
You have? You might be good. How many hierarchies are there? Do you know?
7.
Well, there's actually 3 hierarchies, but there's 9 groups of angels.
Okay.
I think some places call them choirs.
Yeah, choirs of angels. Yeah,
have you heard of that? Yeah, choirs.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. So the first hierarchy, those who do you think's the first one listed? What group? Do you know?
Seraphim.
Yeah, you got it. Nice, man. Anyway, so the seraphim are closest to God, and they're known for burning love and constant worship of God. So they're right there with God. And the I give it up. What's
Cherubim.
next? Yeah,
I was going to say that anyway.
Oh, were you? Okay. Yeah, man, you're tough. The cherubim are the guardians of divine wisdom and God's glory. An example in Genesis, guarding the Garden of Eden. And then so this is the first hierarchy. So you have seraphim, cherubim, and who's the third one? And do you know?
Thrones.
Yeah, man, you're great on this. They're the bearers of divine justice. So now we get to the second hierarchy, and now this is I'm not as familiar with. I wasn't as familiar with at all. So do you have any idea who's in the second hierarchy?
Dominions.
Yeah, that's it. They direct divine orders to lower ranking angels. All right, that's dominions. Who's next?
Principalities.
No. Dang, you finally got one wrong, but you've been doing great. Virtues, have you heard of them? Okay, so
sounds familiar.
This is interesting. They govern the cosmos and oversee the natural elements, maintain harmony in creation.
Interesting.
Yeah, govern the cosmos. That's sounds like a big job. And then, so do you want to take a stab at the last one in the second hierarchy?
Principalities again.
No, I
Dang
should have told you. For principalities for 50. No. Powers.
Oh, I should have got that.
Well, powers, they battle against forces of evil and sin, and they protect humans in the world from attacks of fallen angels. So we'll get into that in a bit. And so the third hierarchy then. You already said it.
Principalities.
Right, nice. Responsible for nations and kingdoms, guide and protect leaders and governments so that they fulfill the divine plan. And then, do you know the other ones? And the other one in that?
Are archangels a separate category? Or are they
No,
just...
they are. They're in the third hierarchy.
Okay.
And they're the special messengers to transport messages from God to humanity. Okay, so let's see. So that's the third hierarchy. I just have 2. I was thinking there were 3, but we can get back to that. So we're all familiar with the archangels, right? So who's the one? You might be familiar.
Raphael.
Right, Raphael's an archangel. So he accompanies and protects. That's his kind of main focus. And so in the book of Tobit, which is in the Catholic Bible, so do you know his story, Raph?
Tobit was the guy who was blind, right? And they rubbed like fish oil in his eyes or something, or is it mud? They rubbed something in his eyes, and then it healed him, and he also met Raphael, but I don't remember the story too well.
Okay, and then so he disguises himself as a human first, and he guides Tobias. So Tobias is Tobit's son.
Yeah.
So he guides Tobias on a journey, and then heals Tobias's dad's blindness. Who's Tobias's dad was Tobit. Yeah, good job explaining that. So a couple of the other archangels, the ones we're familiar with.
Michael, Gabriel.
Right. Gabriel, message to Mary. That's the one, famous one we know. And then Michael, he's the leader of heavenly armies and defends God's people. So there's an interesting story. Do you know the story in Daniel 10:13 where Daniel had this vision of somebody, and he explained or saw this message was given to him, but the messenger explained that he was delayed by the Prince of Persia, and then Michael came to help him. So it's a mention of. Do you remember anything about that?
I do vaguely remember that.
Yeah, that's kind of really interesting. So that's Daniel 10:13. So if you want to read about that, so it gave a direct reference to Michael helping this other, possibly angel. He was delayed in getting to Daniel, but then Michael helped him to get there. So then angels. Okay, that's the third one in the hierarchy. So it's just they call them angels or messengers and personal guardians of human beings, assigned to specific individuals to accompany, guide, and protect them. So I have a little story, but first, so there's one scripture verse. It's I like this one. It's in Hebrews 13:2. It kind of generally it's about entertaining angels unawares. So, I mean that's one thing, but it's like it's basically in Hebrews it's encouraging us to be hospitable to strangers, because you may be showing hospitality to angels without knowing it.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, so I don't know if you have any angel stories, but I might have one, and I'll tell you right now.
Okay.
It involves your mom.
All right.
Because she was with me. Okay, so here's the story. So my wife, Lynette, who is Raph's grandma, but Raph wasn't born yet. But what do you call her, Raph?
Kakak.
Kakak. Okay, so Raph, I'm just going to put this to you. Do you want to save the reveal on how she got her name Kakak to a future podcast, or should we explain it now? I do know the details in case you don't remember.
Nah, we'll save it for a future
one. You want to save it for a future podcast? Very
good.
So you'll just have to wait. All right, it was your call, Raph, so I gave it to you. So here's the story. So my wife was working. We have one vehicle, I think. I dropped her off, and this was years ago when our children were small. So, and in the meantime, I dropped my car off to get some kind of work done on the car.
Yeah.
To a local garage along our main, I think it was still in Steubenville along the main road. So with 3 kids, your mom and her 2 brothers, who I'm thinking, I don't know, your mom might have been 5 or 6. Older brother was 7 or 7 or 8. Zach, the younger, who's the kind of the key to the story, was maybe 3 or 4, I think, somewhere around there. So they were young. So I decided we dropped the car off at this auto place, and we're gonna walk to a bank to do some transaction at the bank, right?
Yeah.
So we're in line. We're kind of in the line there, and I don't know if they still have these. I don't know if they still have these. I doubt it, but they were like these heavy kind of, I guess they were heavy, but metal kind of stands, and in between the metal stands, they'd have almost like a rope thing to just divide the line.
Yeah.
Well, so your Uncle Zach, who was a little guy then, decides he's going to, I think this is what he did, like sit on the rope or lean against it or something. And this metal thing came down on his head.
Oh.
And I just remember, the memory I have is he's bleeding. His head's bleeding. I pick him up and I leave the bank with your mom and my your Uncle Josh, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, and this is out, there was like a shopping plaza. So I'm thinking, I think I was going to call Kukuk. Again, future podcast, you'll hear the definite why she got that name. But so I took him, and I didn't even know why I was going to call her, because she didn't have a car. But I don't know if I thought maybe she could get somebody to come up. I'm in the parking lot, and this car stops. And so to this day, my memory, and this years ago, I just remember either the car was white or the driver was white, and the person next to that driver was white, wearing white, or everything was white. I can't remember. There was this white thing in my mind.
Yeah.
And they said, "Do you need a ride?" And I needed to get to the ER because Zach's head's bleeding. Well, it ends up, head wounds show a lot of blood, and it's not serious. It didn't end up being as serious, but so they let us go in this car. I went in the car with this bleeding child, blood coming out of his head. They take us to the ER and drop us off. Okay, and I think he had to get some stitches, and maybe somebody gave us a ride back to the car place.
Yeah,
the car ended up being fixed. We went down, picked Kukuk up from work. I think I had blood on my shirt, but it was like for her just another day. For me, for us, it was all this, drama. But to this day, I kind of think maybe they were angels.
Interesting.
And it says there's one angel for each person. So I'm thinking if there were two people, maybe it was Uncle Zach's angel and my angel. And because number one, the one thing is, like, who's going to just stop and pick up strangers holding a kid? I mean, maybe there are compassionate people, but I don't know if they'd get out and maybe call 911 more than take it to the ER. But so anyway, that's my little story of a possible angel encounter. So you never know when there are angels. You're entertaining angels unawares. So do you have any angel stories by any chance?
Not that I can recall.
Not even think. Okay, all right.
I don't think so.
Well, maybe you'll have some in the future. All right. I'm doing a lot of talking, but I will turn it over to you soon, Raph.
Okay.
So because we talked about angels, and now I'm going to talk a little bit about demons or devils, and it's from the Latin word diabolus. It means attacker, slanderer, accuser. So Jesus called the devil a murderer, liar, father of lies. So think of negative stuff. Those are demons, and the devil, Satan. So God created angels, and the Satan and the demons were created angels. Okay, but they freely, again, the angels have intellect and free will. They chose to reject God. And so, I mean, one theory is just like pride and disobedience. They strictly just wanted to do their own thing, I guess, or they chose to reject God in some way and become evil. And so in Revelation 12:7-9, there's a war in heaven between Michael and the angels and Satan and his angels. Michael, again, the archangel, defeats Satan and his angels. And so they lose heaven and are cast to earth. So that's a history of Satan and the demons. And this is interesting. I saw this little thing. It says, Satan leads the whole world astray. So I think that kind of sums up what demons and Satan do in the world. They try to lead us away from God, basically, the bottom line. Yeah. So they're trying to do things, and, as Jesus called Satan the father of lies. So it could be lies. It could be accusing us of doing things that make us, feel bad, and that maybe take us outside of what we should be doing in God's will. And so there's all kind of various an arsenal that they try to use to lead us astray. So demons, like angels, have no physical bodies. They don't grow old or die, just like angels. And they have intellect and will. And they can appear to perform miracles. They can manipulate physical matter, give ideas to humans. There's the lie. That's where the lies come in. They can't read minds or predict the future. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So only God can read our hearts and minds. Angels and demons and Satan, they can't read our minds. They can predict, though, the way we act. Almost looks like they might be reading our minds. Seem like they're reading our minds, but they're not really. They're just kind of predicting from our actions. They can predict patterns, and so they can cause physical, mental, emotional, spiritual problems. Not necessarily means they are, but there's something to consider in prayer, and when you take it to prayer and asking petitions to God. So, sometimes people look at demons and Satan, and maybe in a sense they feel like, what if they ever encountered one of these creatures in some form? Like, what would they do?
Yeah.
And would they be afraid? So I have a little story, and I'm going to try to say this person's name. It is Saint Lutfridus.
Okay.
And I'm thinking it sounds like arthritis.
It does.
And so that's how I remember his name. So I think there could be a poem in there, Raph, for Saint Lutfridus. I don't know if he had arthritis, right?
May have had arthritis.
Or bursitis.
Okay.
But maybe not. Okay, so he was a friar around the, 7th or 8th century, I think it was, yeah. And so he founded this abbey. And so once, there's a story, this is the story I just relayed to you. A friar called him and told him, or just, from his cell, they called him, I guess, told him that the devil was appearing in the chapel. So recognizing this, and this is from a website called Return to Order, by the way. So it says, recognizing his old enemy, the saint ran to the chapel and made the sign of the cross over the doors and windows, which closed, blocking all the exits. So if you think about that, okay, all the doors closed, trapped the devil in there. Well, Saint Lutfridus was in there with him. So it wasn't like he was keeping him from coming out. He was keeping him from leaving the chapel, but he was in there with it. So it says, advancing towards the devil, the saint furiously beat him. The devil wanted to flee, but all the exits were blocked. And it says he could have instantly, Satan or the devil could have instantly left the body had been taken up. But apparently he had no permission to do so. Then God let the devil flee by the way of the belfry. You know what a belfry is, Ralph?
Nope.
So it's a bell tower.
Oh, okay.
I had to look it up. And so he ended up letting the devil flee. So anyway, I thought that was however you want to take it, but just Saint Lutfridus beating locking the doors, keeping him inside the chapel with it. It's like a giant cage match, right?
Yeah.
I said it sounded like the devil had no chance.
Yeah.
Saint Lutfridus beat him, and then the devil was gone. So anyway, that's a good story too. We don't have to be afraid of the devil, afraid of demons. There are a couple Bible verses that talk about Romans 8:31. If God is for us, who can be against us? And in 1 John 4:4, it says, you, dear children, are from God and have overcome them, because the one who is in you is greater than the one who is in the world. So we don't have to be afraid. All right, so just a little bit about the movie part. So why do you think we see more movies? Why do people want to be scared? I guess is one of my questions. It seems like we see more movies about demons, scary things, horror films, versus any kind of movies about angels. Or what's your theories? Anything?
Well, first of all, being scared is kind of fun. Yeah. So that probably plays into it. And I don't know. I'd be interested to see what cultural differences there are, but definitely in very Christian areas like a lot of the Western world, since it's so Christian, demons are an especially frightening thing because obviously that's a major part of Christianity. So yeah, demons in the Christian world are about the worst thing you can think of. So they make sort of the perfect horror movie villain or something. And for me, a part of the reason I also like horror movies is because it allows you to get a larger part of the human experience, I feel like. Because in the past, you would have like way in the past, you'd have the danger of like being eaten by like a lion or some like wolf or something like that, and you'd have the visceral fear. And nowadays, that sort of visceral fear doesn't come to us as much. We don't have to worry as much about being mauled by a bear or something.
Oh, interesting.
And
yeah.
so horror movies kind of reach this part of us that we don't experience much. And it also does it in a safe environment, something that usually we would be experiencing in a not safe environment. We get in a safe environment, and allows us to get a larger part of the human experience while still remaining in a safe and not like necessarily dangerous or bad environment.
Oh yeah, right. We have yeah, that's an interesting point. Yeah, it's I know what you mean. It's like kind of seems like it's fun to be scared or startled.
Yeah.
I mean, not but yeah. So I guess that's why I don't know. I still think there's room out there and for movie makers to make a good movie about angels.
Yeah.
It's like, especially with the descriptions we gave and the different types of angels and battles going on behind the scenes, I think it would be good, a good movie, visual, especially nowadays with all the capabilities of making these seem real.
Some of the angels would look like would be super cool to design, like the thrones, for instance. I think the way they look, they're just kind of like rotating wheels with eyes on them or something like that, and they're also like super giant, I think.
Right.
So that would be pretty sick too.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, I think there's a lot of room for development there. So maybe if you become a filmmaker, Raph, you can do that.
I would like to. That'd be cool.
Okay, we covered angels, demons, scary movies a little bit, but now what about this Inferno?
Dante's Inferno.
Oh, Dante's Inferno. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the history of your experience with Dante's Inferno.
So we're reading it in literature class.
Oh, literature. Okay.
We've just finished the Inferno. The Inferno is part of 3 parts of the Divine Comedy, which is the whole work. It's the Inferno, the Purgatorio, and Paradiso, I think. Which Inferno is obviously hell. Purgatorio is purgatory, and Paradiso is heaven. And Dante basically travels through all of these on a journey, which we'll get into that in a second. Okay. But Dante basically was a Italian poet in like the Renaissance, I believe, from Florence, I think, because it's important to get some of the context for some of these things you might see in the book as I go over it. Yeah. And he basically was in a political party. I believe he was part of the Guelphs, who were staunchly opposed to the Ghibellines, and basically one side was more pro-Pope. Both sides were Catholic, I think, or at least weren't like anti-Catholic or anything. But one side was more pro the Holy Roman Empire, and I believe Dante's side, which was the Guelphs, I think, was more pro the Pope.
Guelphs?
Guelph, I think it's Guelphs.
Oh, wow.
The Guelphs. Yeah, and so these 2 political parties were at odds, and eventually Dante would be exiled from Florence, and he would write the Inferno in exile in Italian, I think, which was he actually, I think, helped popularize the Italian language or that vernacular. And then he also, important to note, had a someone who he loved very much despite being married. To be fair to him, he was in an arranged marriage, but he was always loved this woman named Beatrice, who he was not married to, but he never actually like married her or anything. He sort of just loved her from afar. And part of the important bits to learn why we need the context for this is Beatrice plays a role, more so in the later, in like Paradiso, I think, but there's still a bit of a role in Inferno. And also because Dante, his Inferno is deeply politically motivated for his time. So you'll see people in hell who he is basically condemning politically, like this person who I disagree with politically is going to be in hell, which is pretty interesting. So it's on the one hand, it's a spiritual warning against, obviously, the dangers of hell, and on the other hand, it's a political critique of his society. So, yeah, and a lot of the problems he pointed out in it. So, anyway, I'll actually start talking about the actual Inferno now. So, it starts out with Dante waking up in a forest called the Dark Forest, I believe. And basically, in this forest, there are three beasts. There's a she-wolf, there's, I believe, a leopard, and then I think there's a lion as well. And each of these represents a sin that Dante is struggling with. At least that's the interpretation.
Yeah, right, sure.
And so, basically, this forest, he has no idea how he's got here. He's just woken up, and it seems as if he's struggling with some sort of sin, which is why he's here, and he needs to sort of figure out this sin on his journey and all this. And these sins are likely these three beasts, which are chasing him and hunting him down through this forest. But then, someone who he greatly admires appears, and it's Virgil, the great Roman writer who wrote the Aeneid. It was probably his most famous work, I think. And so Virgil's like, hey, Dante, we're going to hell now. And so he takes him to hell. But before they reach hell, they're at the outer edge of hell, basically, the gates of hell. But right outside of it, and there's also a river separating hell from the outside. So right outside of it, there's a ton of people who couldn't get into hell or heaven. And basically these people are still being punished, though. They are being chased down by a swarm of wasps, and they're running away from them constantly. And I believe there's maggots eating their flesh where pus oozes from it. So it's pretty disgusting and horrifying. And this isn't even, we're not even in hell yet. So then Dante crosses this river, the river Acheron, I believe. And there's a ferryman, Charon.
Oh, yeah.
And he takes them into hell. And the first layer of hell is actually limbo. And so in limbo, it's basically it's called virtuous pagans, or the unbaptized who are still virtuous. And they are, some of the notable people in here are Socrates. Virgil himself is in here. So Virgil is actually in hell, but he's been chosen to guide Dante along this journey. Zeno, some other Greek philosophers. I think there's some heroes from the Trojan War, perhaps, in here, if I'm not mistaken. But these people are basically, they're good people, but they were never baptized, especially, like, given Socrates was pre-Christianity and all that. And so they, in this place, it's really quite nice. They get the light that represents human reason and knowledge, I believe. And so their area of hell is lit up, and it's pretty chill, honestly. They just kind of hang out there, and they're not really punished, which is fitting, I guess, for their crime or lack thereof. Given especially some of these didn't even have the option to be Christian. So they just kind of get to chill there. And so Dante leaves all these great philosophers and people of the past, and he goes down to the next circle, and the circle of lust. And also something important to note with the Inferno is that there's a thing called, I believe, a contrapasso for each layer of hell. And this is basically like why the punishment fits the crime, like why, like almost an irony or a fittingness. So in lust, he encounters a giant whirlwind, a tornado, effectively. And in this tornado, it is filled with souls being spun around incredibly quickly, although some of them are being spun faster than others. And so the contrapasso for this, I believe, is basically the lust sweeps people off their feet and like into sin and depravity. And just as that happens in life, in death, they're swept away in a literal whirlwind. Always, and they can never like be next to their lover or anything like that because they're in a whirlwind, and so they can't exactly be next to each other or anything like that. And so he meets a few souls here, like Dido, who was in the Aeneid. She was in love with Aeneas, a queen, and she actually killed herself out of love for Aeneas when he left. that is something interesting to note, is that later on there is a circle for those who have commit suicide.
Wow.
But Dido, who also commits suicide, is in lust as opposed to that. So there is something, I don't know exactly how Dante sorts people, but perhaps it's their principal sin or what he thinks would be most effective for the readers.
Yeah.
So he meets a couple other people in lust. Interestingly, Dido
Now,
and
these people he meets, were they real historical people, or is he making just these people up?
he's mostly going to meet historical people. Like Dido, I don't know
Okay.
if she's historical or
Right.
not, given she's in the Aeneid, but she probably has some historical
Yeah, okay.
backing. So yeah, these are going to be historical people, but there are going to be some ahistorical things in here as well.
Okay, gotcha.
And also the people in lust, some of them are saying like, oh, our only crime was like loving each other or something. Like they don't even seem to accept their own sin, which is interesting. They're sort of in denial.
Yeah.
The next circle is gluttony. In gluttony,
So there's only one kind of sin per circle?
yeah, each circle has a sin, and then some of the circles, when we get a little bit
Oh, okay,
lower down, will
okay.
have sub sins.
Oh, okay.
Like, for instance, fraud will have like sowers of discord
right.
and
Yeah.
hypocrisy and stuff. Anyway, in gluttony, there are a bunch of gluttons, and they're wallowing in mud, and Cerberus is eating them. And the way they have to get past Cerberus is they throw mud in his mouth.
Ooh.
And then his mouth is stuck closed, and he can't do anything. And
Wait,
so they
who is this character?
Cerberus, the three-headed dog from Greek mythology.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you think I knew that?
Oh, yeah.
You have more high expectations than you said.
Yeah. Then they progress to greed, where they...
Is that the third circle then?
Yeah, this is the third circle.
Okay, keeping track.
The circle of greed.
Okay.
I'm sorry, this is the fourth circle.
Okay.
Gluttony is the third circle. Fourth circle is greed. And so basically it's guarded by this guy Pluto, who is I think he's the Greek god of wealth. And so, sorry, not, he's called Pluto, but his name is Plutus. I believe Pluto's a Roman name for Hades as well.
Oh, really?
I could be wrong on that, but he's the god of wealth, and he is kind of being creepy. And so yeah, this obviously greed is kind of an obvious sin. There's no subcategories for this.
Right.
And so he moves on, because I kind of, not going to lie, I forget the punishment for this one.
Oh, that's fine.
And so he moves on next to Wrath, which in Wrath, it's basically a giant swamp, as far as I remember. And there's groups who are either sinking into the muck, or they're fighting each other eternally. And then there's this really angry guy on a boat who takes them across this swamp, and he's really raging the whole time.
Like he's a grouch, or just mad that he has to take them, or just kind of a mad guy?
He's just kind of a mad guy, I think. That's why he's in Wrath, yeah. So he takes them, and he takes them to the shore, and he's like, all right, I'm leaving now. Goodbye. Get out of here. And he's really mad. Whoa. And he leaves. And so...
No tips for him.
No. I mean, they already went on Acheron. This is a theme. They're going to get. True, yeah. They're going to get a group of public transportation going on here.
Yeah, right.
It's a theme throughout the Inferno. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they're at the steps of a giant city, basically. Giant walls of a city. And this is the city of Dis, is what it's called, in hell, Dis. And this is the capital of hell, the great infernal city. And I believe all the other circles are held within these walls.
Oh.
So they're kind of almost as like a turning point.
Okay, so these circles up to then were outside the wall.
Yes.
Then the rest will be inside. Gotcha.
Yes, and so in the city, Dante characterizes it as having glowing red mosques, because if you think about it, Dante's like in the Renaissance times. Islam is going to be a pretty big competitor to Christianity. They're going to be fighting a lot. So it kind of makes sense why Dante would characterize like the mosques being in the city of hell and all that.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of that political critique.
Yeah, there you go.
And so they're trying to get through here to go through the rest of hell, and they reach a problem. There's an army of demons, and they're not letting them through, and they're talking to these demons, and Virgil's like, let us through, and this demon's like, no, we're not letting you through. But then, basically, Virgil's like, all right, hold on, give me a second. And then so he basically calls an angel, and an angel comes down from heaven and walks up and is basically just like, he makes the demons let them pass and then leaves. And so they get through the help of this angel. And so they pass through the city of Dis. Dante actually doesn't really describe it much other than that. But it is interesting that there is a city in hell. And so next they get to the layer of hell, heresy. And so heresy is so Dante, there's a theme in the Inferno. There are certain sins that Dante, he weeps a lot at, including, I think, in one of the earlier circles, he actually faints at the end of it.
Oh, really?
And all this. He's sad a lot of the time. He's very sad for the sinners, which Virgil is sometimes saying, like, okay, you don't have to be sad for these guys. They're in hell. What Dante will do in some of these circles, which sort of points his critique, is where he's usually sad and like, okay, I feel bad for these guys. Sometimes he's incredibly angry and enraged at these sinners. And so I believe heresy is one of them. Hold on. Okay, the heretics. They enter the gates and they are in the sixth circle, and there's basically like a countryside and a giant cemetery of great tombs. And they are different sizes and shapes, these tombs. And in these tombs, they're stuffed to the brim with hundreds and hundreds of sinners, of heretics. And each tomb is also on fire, and it's described as being like the flames of a forge, I think.
Oh.
And so, yeah, basically, and some of these tombs are hotter than others, depending on which heresy Dante considers to be worse and or better, I believe. And he talks to a couple people in here from different heresies. And also, these tombs will get more sinners in it as time goes on. And the sinners at the very bottom will slip into cracks in the depths of the earth. Because I forgot to mention, the Inferno, hell is going deeper into earth. It's basically underground.
Gotcha.
And so eventually at the end, at the final judgment and all that, these tombs will be sealed up, and the heretics will be forever trapped inside, unable to speak with people outside, probably, and they will be also probably burning way more because there's no escape from the air. So yeah, it's pretty bad deal. And since they taught that the soul dies with the body, so their punishment is an eternal grave and a fiery morgue of God's wrath. So yeah, Dante means specifically those who did violence to God by denying immortality, and so that's why, with the soul dying with the body, their body is now burnt forever. So then Dante moves on to violence, which he separates into. This is the first one, I think, that we get truly separated into categories. So we've got violence against others and self and God. And so the first level, violence against self, others,
Okay.
is the obvious violence against others. They are being, hold on. They have the Minotaur guarding them. They're in a river of blood, being shot by centaurs from Greek mythology, half human, half horse. Then you've got violence against self, suicidals. They are basically trees. They're trapped inside of trees. They can't move.
It's interesting.
Yeah, they're basically, I think, the contrapasso. They denied themselves their gift of their body, and now they are trapped and unable to use it, except for one guy, because basically if you break the trees, they start to bleed. But one guy was released, I guess. And he's being chased down by a pack of hounds.
Wow.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
And so the next circle is fraud, and I'm just going to not go through all of it because there's like 10 different things there.
Fine. Yep.
So there's simony, flattery, pandery and seduction. And then there's hypocrisy, which basically hypocrisy is on the cover of my book, I believe. I believe the hypocrites are basically just upside down in a fiery thing that's like a baptismal font.
So he takes each one of these sins and like just kind of has you picture like something, the ramifications of that, I guess, right?
Yeah, and for instance, sorcery, their heads are on backwards because they're trying to see the future and stuff like that. And so, yeah, he also, there's another interesting one, the sowers of discord, which I'll go over quickly. Basically, people who have sown discord, is kind of obvious from the name. People in here are, for instance, the Prophet Muhammad of Islam and his, I think, nephew Ali. And basically the punishment for this is pretty horrible. You're just getting chopped up by a demon and then running away in your chopped up state, or like dragging yourself across the floor, and then you regenerate, but you're like compelled to come back to this demon. Like Muhammad is like cut in half. Ali is like, his head is chopped in half.
Wow.
Somebody's head is cut off and he's swinging it around like a lantern. And
okay, so I think that's, if somebody decided to make a movie of Dante's Inferno, I think I'll skip it.
Yeah, some of these get quite bad.
Yeah.
And then the final, I'm just going to skip ahead. The final layer is going to actually be treachery.
Ooh.
And this is in the depths of the earth. Basically, you're like right next to the center of the earth.
Oh, yeah.
And in this layer, you actually meet Satan himself.
Wow.
But first, you go through a little. There's levels of this. So as Dante walks along, there's a frozen river, and in this frozen river, there are people who are trapped in it, and the further away from the center it is, the nicer their punishment is. So like, for instance, their heads can be tilted so that when they cry, their tears don't freeze on their eyelids. Then they get closer, people are deeper in the ice and their tears are freezing on their eyes. Then they get to the exact center. Satan is there, a giant demonic creature who's hairy with bat wings, and he has 3 heads. One eating Brutus, who conspired against Caesar. One eating Cassius, I think, who also conspired against Caesar. And one eating Judas Iscariot, who conspired against Jesus. So treacherous people. And also points to Dante's political critique of, he liked Caesar, I guess.
Oh, yeah, really.
And so you can see his political critique. There's a lot of other people, but for time's sake, I can't go over all of them.
Oh, yeah.
There's like some popes in there as well.
Wow, okay. Wow. You don't want to make Dante's list, right?
Yeah, you don't want to be on Dante's bad side, or he'll put you in hell. But anyway, after this, they basically escape hell. They climb up Satan's leg a little bit, and then they climb up this...
Who does? Dante
and Virgil.
Oh.
And then they climb out of the depths of the earth to the other side of the earth, where they are at the foot of a giant mountain, that being Purgatorio.
Oh.
So that will lead into there. Oh, also something interesting to note is that this ice river is caused by Satan, who's also trapped in it. The beating of his wings as he tries to escape from hell actually freezes the river. So in his attempt to gain freedom and escape, he actually traps himself, which is almost similar to when he attempted to become greater than God, ultimately trapping himself in hell and damnation.
Oh, yeah. What a project. Like, who would have thought a scenario of ice being in hell. That's interesting.
And it's at the depths of hell.
Wow.
But yeah, Dante's Inferno is quite good. I'd recommend everybody read it.
So just in wrapping up, what was the response to this book? Do you know? Did you guys go over?
I don't
even from theologians or from.
So this book,
how was it accepted? I guess
I don't exactly know. Maybe we'll get to that because we've just finished the Inferno. We have the whole rest of the comedy.
Right.
But I think it's not meant to be like a theological work or anything.
Okay, right.
It's not theologically like a lot of people accept like the layers of hell as tradition or something like that. Yeah. But it's not meant to be like theological doctrine or like church doctrine or anything. It's more a critique and a warning with some cool world building.
Right. Get you thinking.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. All right. Well, okay. So we've got some good information and as always, if you want more information, do your own research,
Yep.
right? Do your deep dive. And so, anything else you want to add before we end?
I mean, this is a perfect episode for Halloween, I think.
There you go. There you go. Yep, it's October 30th. So we were, just real quick, we were talking about Halloween, and in one place I saw the history of it. And so, a lot of people think it's from a pagan person. It was to an alternative to a pagan whatever day. But in what I've read in one place at least, that it wasn't necessarily that. And so the history that I had read was that the Christians, the church, would designate an individual day for a martyr, and it would be the anniversary of their death or the day of their death. So, but eventually they ran out of days of the year, which is sad. So they decided to put all the martyrs on one day to remember them or to honor them or to celebrate their lives. And then Pope Gregory at some point, one of the Pope Gregories, I forget which number, but came along and not only said, let's do it on November 1st for martyrs, but for all the saints. So that was just one history that I saw. Anything you wanted to add to that? Or?
And that's also what I saw. And there is some precedent for the pagan ideas. A lot with the early church, I think they would take certain aspects of pagan holiday or festivals, I guess, and then they'd incorporate them into their traditions a little bit, and they'd sort of mix it and combine them, because for one, it's easier to get people on your side when you're not condemning their traditions and instead not exactly embracing them, but modifying them so that it fits in, and so that they'd be more willing to join your religion or whatever. So there are certain pagan aspects to Halloween, and there's certain traditions that don't come from Christianity necessarily, but it is founded on Christianity, I think, in its modern state at least. It is sort of a mixture, but Christian holiday.
There you go. Yeah, and it's the point of taking some pagan things and inserting it. It's not like they're worshiping pagan gods. The church is just maybe there are some aspects, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the people, we'll get this, but we're worshiping the one true God now.
Yeah.
We're not doing that stuff you used to do. So
yeah,
very good. All right, well, we went a little long. We hope you like it, and until next time, we'll see you. Good night.
Good night.
And remember, God loves you.